we're gonna move on to the next archetype / deck we are looking at, and that will be the Dragma cards.
So Dragma is a very special archetype in where they care more about controlling your opponent's extra deck to a degree, as well as utilizing extra deck monsters in your graveyard to summon certain monsters from their archetype.
Right.
Aiden the Dragma Oracle. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a special summon monster from the extra deck. And if a monster with special summon from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from its hand. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon another Dragma monster from your deck. So he's the floater of the deck. The majority of them all have the special summon effect, where like if your opponent controls something that was special summon the extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand, etc. However, the second effect is usually the effect that changes or something different.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they can't be killed by extract monsters as a general.
Yeah.
Moving on. We got Cardinal.
Dragma.
It's like the boss monster we got here.
You cannot normal summon or set most speed special summoned by its own effect. You can target 4 Fusion Synchro XYZ and/or Link monsters in the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish those targets. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a special summon monster, destroy as many opponent's attack position monsters as possible, then inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each of the extra deck special summon monster type of like Fusion Synchro XYZ and Link. He's the boss monster archetype. I don't think he'll be seen much play. I don't think he's useful enough. If anything, I think he's actually like too resource heavy to even manage. However, like you never know going forward, but he definitely has an impact with his effect. If you can resolve his effect to board wipe, it can do damage. And his base stats is 32 as well.
The big thing here I want to say is, I think the Dragma archetype is, for the most part, it's a control deck, and a lot of the control decks, they don't want your opponent to put up these big boards, and this card sort of like it's good. It's okay even if you stop putting big board, but this is like sort of like it seems like it's printed as an answer to those big boards, but like most of the big boards are his effect's just not going to resolve.
Absolutely.
I think it's a fine of like if you're playing a pure build, I think it's a fine one of, but it's definitely not a card you want to see that often.
Absolutely. The next card I believe is Dragma Encounter. I believe it's the Rota for the Warrior Returning Alive, so to speak. So its first effect is you can special summon a Dragma or an Albus Nullius Phyllis from your hand, or you can take a Dragma or an Albus from your graveyard and either add it to your hand or special summon it. I don't believe Albus Nullius Fearless is an important card to mention. I don't think it will be played. It's more of just the archetypes, like it's part of the lore for the archetype, so that's why we didn't put it in the video to mention. However, the fact that it can add Dragma cards from graveyard to your hand or special summon it is actually very impactful because it's the recycle part of your engine. It being a trap card is kind of slow, I get it, but like we already established, the Dragma engine is control based, so whatever deck is going to be utilizing Dragma cards or the Dragma archetype is going to be playing some sort of back row function to help aid the idea and the functional abilities of the Dragma cards.
Yeah, I think it's a fine card. We'll definitely see play in the pure builds.
Yep.
Next we have Dragma
Punishment is next. Dragma Punishment is actually a really unique card because it has interactions with you sending cards from the extra deck to send one monster your opponent controls off the field, and based off what you send, you can gain additional effects. For example, if you were to send Elder Elder Entity Entis, the fusion that Infernoids are used to play and stuff like that. The Dragma Punishment now becomes an Icarus attack. You just got rid of the one monster you were looking for, and now you got rid of an additional card. If you were to play, like, say, the Dragma Necros variant, you could send Herald of the Arclight to not only get rid of a card, you could also search a ritual card to start your turn going forward. There's too many applications for the deck to where it becomes useful.
Right, you could even if you're not playing a Necros version per se, you could tech in the ritual monster that discards to stop a targeting effect. Just like that card effect is not completely great, but like when you're getting a free plus that could stop like an Imperm or Veiler or what have you.
The only big drawback to this card is after you use this, you cannot special summon from the extra deck the turn after this card resolves. So if you're using it on your opponent's turn, your turn you can't use your extra deck, which in certain instances is not the worst, but it does put a hindrance on a lot of the archetype functions of whatever variant you tend to go with.
Yes, it's definitely a real cost to put in your deck, but the Dragma archetype as a whole, it's like it's very anti extra deck, sort of like how Monarchs were in 2016. Moving on, we have their field spell. Once in play, neither player can target your Dragmas with monster effects summoned from the extra deck. And then once per turn, you can use the following effects. You can use the following effects once per turn. After damage calculation, if your Dragma battles, you can destroy your opponent's monster. That's pretty solid, especially because for the majority, the strongest cards in the game are extra deck, but your deck is utilizing cards that are powerful but don't let you use the extra deck. So like being able to trade some of your less powerful cards, like your Dragmas that are like a little bit weaker than like your opponent's monsters. When you're able to trade them up, it's very strong. And then the last effect is if it is destroyed in the field zone, each player sends one monster from their extra graveyard.
Which that effect just fits with the theme again of controlling your opponent's extra deck and just trying to dwindle it down as quick as possible.
Right. I don't think that effect it's not going to come up that much. Maybe the only thing I can think of is if you get Lightning Stormed, but the other big back row removal in the game right now is Cosmic, which it doesn't activate on that, but it's still a great include in the deck. You'll probably see at least 2 copies in every pure build.
Yep. The next card I believe is Theo the Dragma Iron Hammer. He can't be destroyed by battle with a special summon monster from the extra deck. If a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, similar to the other ones. His other effect is target one face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck, and it loses 600 attack, and he gains 600 attack. So being able to just stat change can come up. I don't see him being very useful per se because the 600 loss versus the 600 gain isn't as impactful as you would think in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Because majority of the decks use extra decks to remove problems versus you just going to your battle phase and just running something over with like this type of an archetype.
Yeah, this card's not that great. I mean, it summons itself when your opponent summons from the extra deck, but that's all it really does. And like this deck isn't really using its own extra deck. Like if it was, like having a free summon to like go into some place would be very impactful, but that's just not the way this deck seems to be functioning. Next, the last free card Yeah, the last 3 cards in the archetype are cards that are most likely going to be seen not in only the pure Dragma builds, but like in the builds that are splashing other engines.
Yep. So Maximus Dragma. He's the second Suedo boss monster of the archetype. You can banish 1 fusion, synchro, or XYZ or link monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can send 2 monsters with different names from your extra deck to the graveyard, and your opponent also has to do the same thing. And he's a once per turn effect. That part comes up a lot where like turn 1, in like the invoked variants where you make Makuba, using like Almirage and stuff to get yourself a link on board. Your turn 1 is usually Maximus, Dragma, and Makuba to send. There's a new fusion that should be coming out also, where it's the engage, so to speak, for the deck, because in the end phase you get to add a Dragma card too. I don't know the name offhand, but regardless, that effect is fine. It's more of just a plus ability that way. And it also sends cards like Omega Entist in case you're playing second. There we go. It's called the Incineration Dragon Bastard. Sorry for the language. It's just the name.
There's no way that's gonna be the TCG name.
Yeah, absolutely. That name has to get changed. But during the end phase, that card, like I said, allows you to add a Dragma card to your hand. Another card, sorry, we also forgot to talk about, was Disciples of the Nadir. It sends 1 monster from your extra deck to graveyard, then adds 1 Dragma monster from your deck to your hand with a tag less than or equal to the stats. It's a very recyclable engine and has implemented a bunch of ways for you to be able to search these cards.
Yeah, this card sort of going out of order, but since we forgot about this card, yeah, I forgot this card because it's sort of like personal spoofing. It's a Dragma card, but it doesn't say Dragma in the text.
Yep, it wasn't intentional.
But but in another way why it's like spoofing is because I know there's like there's a card, 1 or 2 cards that like searches Dragma cards, and if this, just like if you could set spoofing off of Marionetter, if you could search this card is just like the best card in the deck, honestly.
Absolutely. And once again, go back to Maximus Dragma, being able to send anything from the extra deck is incredible. There are plays where you can send the new Shadal Fusion, Abcalone to the grave to send to search Shadal Fusions or the new Shadal card coming out. It's a good starter card as well as an extender at the same time.
Yeah, the cards, the Dragma cards that are splashable in like all the deck and like multiple decks, they're going to be very strong. You'll probably see a similar effect to as Eldritch is having on the current format, where you just see Dragma, Maxis Dragma this, Dragma this, Dragma that. Moving on though.
The next card is Ecclesia, the Dragma Saint. He once again can be destroyed by battle with something from the extra deck. His effect is when he's normal special summon, you can add 1 Dragma card from your deck to your hand. He's the Rhoda of the deck. He's the Stratos. Archetypes like this, whenever you have a Stratos, you'll definitely be seeing this card as well, just to keep your engine alive and keeping it going for the grind game purposes.
Definitely.
Finally, you have Fleur de Lis, the Dragma Knight. He's slightly different from them because you can special summon him on your opponent's turn as well. Because during the main phase, if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck and is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if you have another Dragma monster on the field, you can target one face-up monster and negate its effects until the end of this turn. And then when your Dragma monsters declare an attack, all your Dragmas can gain 500 attack for the battle phase. He's a very impactful card for specific situations and niche damage input.
Yeah, this card. Effect Veiler and Impermanence are two of the strongest hand traps in the game currently, and this card is literally a searchable Effect Veiler with the Stratos, which is, there's gonna be decks that just like splash like 3 of this, and even just 1 of this, like.
Yep. And with that being said, the next card we'll be talking about is the Shadal card coming out, Shadal Rug. For years a lot of us have been saying Shadals need support, so Shadals need cards coming out. The structure that gave you a little hint and a little taste, giving you App Cologne to be able to add the Shadal fusion from your deck to hand, similar to Shadal Hedgehog's ability. But now that you have that Shadal, they're getting their own Miracle Fusion with a removal effect. When a fusion deck gets its own Miracle Fusion, it becomes a problem because decks that can we've seen in the past Miracle Fusion and Bumblebee back in 2011. It was a sleeper card, but that card did a lot of damage. So Shadal Rug is definitely going to be part of the Dragma decks or any fusion deck going forward.
Yes.
Being able to splash the window on the field is absurd.
Yeah, and just to get everything away, we'll look at this card because it's mentioned in a lot of the cards.
Albus Julius Fearless, he can be normal or special summoned. You can discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 monster from your extra deck using this card on the field, and monsters your opponent controls as fusion materials. You don't use this effect once per turn. Like I said, I remembered him vaguely from reading him. I don't see him being really relevant because you're not really ever going to fusion the Incineration Dragon. He's more of you sending him off Maximus to get the search off because who doesn't like Sky Striker engage effects here and there? It's just you can forget, and if that card wasn't printed, Albus Julius Fearless, it wouldn't hurt the archetype in any way or even make it any better.
Yeah, I mean, it's so you're fusing into this, right? Which it's himself and a monster with 25 or more attack, which his effect isn't a dead effect, right? Like you can do it, but I just don't see it really seeing much play competitively.
Right, especially when you have cards like Super Poly, you could do the same thing, and then that card your opponent can't respond to at least. This one's just a watered down version of that.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably see some play in the builds early on, but it will probably make its way out of the deck pretty fast.
Exactly.